The human history of the Cheyenne National Grassland is as diverse and varied as its natural landscape. For the past centuries, the grasslands have been home to people from various ethnicities and cultures. Despite its environmental challenges, generations of families and individuals continue to express a deep attachment to the grassland landscape. Prior to white settlement, the grassland's rich river bottom and prairies nurtured human inhabitants for thousands of years, including the Cheyenne, the Ojibwe, and Dakota Sioux peoples. The Cheyenne River and Delta supported horticulture, gathering, and hunting. As early as the 17th century, waves of colonization pushed many native groups out of their homelands and into other regions. To this day, the grasslands hold importance to the native groups that live in this area. In the late 18th and early 19th century, the United States government sent a variety of expeditions into the Great Plains to establish a military presence and to survey the land for agriculture and settlement. This led to conflict between the white settlers and native tribes. Many Dakota fled across the Red River and through today's Cheyenne National Grassland. As the Indian Wars in the American West came to a close, settlers began farming in the northern Great Plains. Some new landowners organized companies and created the first large-scale industrialized farms, which shipped grain via new railroads to regional economic hubs such as Minneapolis. This large-scale agriculture style became known as bonanza farming, and it created an economic incentive that drew settlers into the region. Most bonanzas were owned by companies and operated like factories, with dormitories and set hours for workers. As railroads expanded, new bonanza farms sprung up across eastern North Dakota. The largest of these farms spanned well beyond today's grassland boundaries. Each of these farms had headquarters near a rail line, which provided for easy transportation of their goods. Many of the grassland's earliest farmers were of Scandinavian descent. The first homesteader in the area was Andrew Berg in 1879. When Berg moved here, he noted the presence of a small community south of this homestead. These were likely local Métis people, individuals of mixed Indigenous and European ancestry. His sister Martha and her two children, Ivor and Anna, joined him on his homestead in the 1880s. Imagine how winters would have been for these residents without electricity, gas, or running water. Like other Scandinavians, John Soljam and his family moved to this homestead location from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. The couple had 7 children. Neighboring homesteaders, the Haugans, were close friends of the Soljams. The Soljam family built a strong community by helping new Norwegian immigrants settle in this area. In 1905, John Haugen came from Norway and stayed with the Soljams. He married Anna, the Soljam's daughter, and worked at the nearby Power Bonanza farm. They lived in Norway from 1913 to 1921. However, in 1921, they returned to the grasslands and homesteaded on the site with their 3 young children, Jorgen, Ragna, and Ida. Jorgen's Hollow Campground here in the grasslands is named after John Haugen's eldest son, and today the Haugen family is still active in the local community. By the 1930s, North Dakotans had experienced years of drought, adding to the challenges the rest of the nation was already experiencing during the Great Depression. Families living in the grasslands were well accustomed to adversity. The region had always been a place of natural contrasts, scorching heat and blinding blizzards, flash floods and lingering droughts. Overgrazing and excessive plowing only added to the adversity. By the 1930s, North Dakota experienced some of the driest years ever recorded in state history. Aside from climatic problems, pests such as grasshoppers brought destruction to crops. Struggling farmers, whose lands were classified as unusable, sold a collective 11 million acres to the Public Works Administration. This organization was established by the United States government as a response to environmental issues in the area. Beginning in 1934, the United States government created 22 land utilization projects, or LUPs, to shift the economy to a grazing and ranching economy rather than a farming one. Some lands became parks, wildlife preserves, and agricultural experimental stations. In 1935, the Grasslands became part of the Cheyenne Land Utilization Project. Part of the Cheyenne LUP became part of a larger public park that straddled the Cheyenne River. The park was intended to serve as a wildlife refuge, as well as a recreation center for the people of southeastern North Dakota. To promote recreation, the project included picnic grounds and campsites, improved roads and new trails, and numerous structures including overnight cabins, bridges, and a large community building. The recreational legacy of the Cheyenne National Grassland continues for the people of North Dakota to this day. In 1960, the Cheyenne Land Utilization Project officially became the Cheyenne National Grassland. Under federal control, a close relationship between the ranchers and the Forest Service began. By the 1980s, ranchers grazed more than 11,000 heads of cattle on this land. The social history of the Grasslands begins with the first peoples of the region and extends to the establishment of the grassland under the United States Forest Service. To those who had lived on this storied landscape, the grassland has meant many things. For the Cheyenne, Ojibwe, and Dakota Sioux tribes, it was and remains home. For early farmers, it provided the means to live and created a strong community. Today, many visit the grassland for its recreational opportunities. Whatever brings you to the Cheyenne National Grassland, you can be sure you are participating in a dynamic historical legacy stretching back thousands of years.